Hey guys, welcome back to the Do Good podcast with myself, Rob Watson. And in this episode, I had a really lovely chat with two really inspiring ladies called Kellie Bubble and Debbie Clarke, who both work for the awesome food cooperative Unicorn over in Manchester. I really enjoyed this chat. I think for me, it's an inspiring company. I've been going to this place for at least half a dozen years and really buy into the ethos and the way it's set up. Like I said, it's a cooperative, so it's very much about equal say, equal pay, very much like they've all got an influence, they've all got a say, and you can feel it when you're in there, you really can. So I won't say too much about it because I just want to get straight into today's episode. So without further ado, here we go. Firstly, thank you very much for allowing me to come and see your space today. I'm upstairs in the Unicorn offices, and I've been in this shop, must be about at least 7 or 8 years, and we just come in. And what I get about it more than anything is it's just the feeling that you get when you're inside it. If you compare it to, say, going into Tesco's or Sainsbury's, the people, I don't know, there's much more life around the place, and you can feel like there's a better interaction with the staff, and there's more autonomy as well with them, where maybe if you're in Sainsbury's and, I don't know, they would always, I don't know, they don't really feel like they've got that spark, and it's just something great about this. So what I'd love to hear about is just, for those who won't be aware of Unicorn, if you could just give us a little bit of overview about the organisation.
So Unicorn is a grocery. We sell mainly ingredients, really good for people who like cooking, like good food. We've been going for 23 years, and we're a workers' cooperative, so the people you see on the shop floor, generally the people who are making all the decisions behind the scenes as well. There's nearly 70 of us. And we were set up based on some principles that we're really proud of, that seek to create a world that's more sustainable, where employment is secure, where good food is accessible for all people, and those down the supply chain that are usually exploited are acknowledged and treated a bit better. But it's an imperfect trading system we've got, and we're not perfect, but we strive every day, every week, every month, every year to just nudge it and improve it, and that's happened over time. It's and those foundations, those principles are really the thing that inform our decisions that have helped us create this space as it is today.
And I think it's interesting that it's really nice actually to hear that you get a sense of staff feeling kind of some autonomy and empowerment, because that is a really, really kind of crucial part of the way we operate, and it's lovely to hear that comes across. It's very meaningful for us as workers, so it's nice to hear that it's reflected in the kind of experience you've had here as a customer.
So it's been going 23 years. Who set it up? Are they still around?
No, there was a few people. The main guy was called Adam York, who had spent some time at Daily Bread, which is another co-op. They've got two co-ops, haven't they?
One in Northamptonshire and one in Cambridge, I think.
Yeah, and within the world of co-ops, there's a lot of sharing of knowledge and information, and they had a really good basic model, similar to ours. Large warehouse space, buying direct, big storage space so you can get the good deals, pass on the savings to customers. Our model changed a bit with our fresh offer, which is fairly unique. Over a quarter of our sales are fresh organic fruit and veg. We do a lot of crop planning with the UK, and that's something that was started by Adam, who's a founder, who now is in Wales with his own market garden, and that's kind of where his passion lies now. But he stayed for the other founders weren't around very long. Some were there to set the place up, not actually work in the shop. Adam stayed around until 2010, so for quite a while before he went to grow his vegetables.
And that was quite a big moment for us, I think, our sort of the final one of the founding members leaving. And there was that sense of where will things go now, and I think there's definitely been changes since he left, but I think the strength of a co-op is that it doesn't rest on one person ever. It certainly shouldn't. There's this whole team of people who have shared responsibility and shared kind of ownership, and and the departure of key people, it has an impact, but it, you know, in an ideal system like this, nobody's irreplaceable. And yeah, I mean, we owe a lot to those founding members, but the co-op has continued to kind of evolve and grow and thrive in all sorts of different ways. So.
And you know, Manchester's pretty much known, isn't it, as well, for being recognised for almost like founding like the cooperative movement, isn't it? Was it back in 1800s in Rochdale?
Yeah, with the Rochdale pioneers, you know, and we're proud of that history. There's a lovely museum that, you know, people can go to and have a look, and they've got the shop set up as it would be. But, you know, that was at a time when, you know, poor people were working really hard for very little money, and the basic food stuffs that they could afford were corrupted with other things. So the Rochdale pioneers at the time were really radical. It doesn't sound it, because they were just setting up a shop that was going to give pure flour and sugar and, you know, basic ingredients to workers, but because that was messing with the business interests of others, they faced a lot of barriers. I think at one point did they have the shop set on fire?
There was definitely quite a hostile environment.
Yeah. For what is, you know, just a basic, you know, food that is honest, and, you know, so it's yeah, we're really proud of that heritage, and we kind of think, you know, ours is about basic food, decent food, you know, as it should be, really.
Yeah, it's a real proud tradition to be part of that. Definitely.
Continuing the spirit on.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the actual cooperative structure then in here, and like the working environment and how that kind of goes.
So it's quite a unique way of working in lots of different ways. Firstly, that we all multitask. So that's not to say that we all do everything. We don't. But we all do lots of different kinds of tasks, from sort of, you know, shop floor tasks like stocking the shelves and working on the tills, and otherwise kind of serving customers and interacting with our customers, through to kind of being involved in the sort of back office stuff, the ordering, the buying, the kind of, I suppose, the sort of management level. And then we're all directors as well, so we all have a responsibility to sort of take a role in the sort of strategic direction of the business and make the big key decisions about, you know, what direction we're going to go in. So it's quite unique in that sense. We also operate with a pretty flat sort of management structure, so everybody has equal pay. We all get paid the same hourly rate, and we all have equal say. So again, that's not to say everybody has a say on everything. We delegate a lot of responsibility to teams and to individuals, but there isn't that kind of typical chain of command that you get in a conventional business structure. But it is something it's kind of a work in progress, really. We're constantly evolving the structure we have, and perhaps the last few years, as we've grown from a membership of, well, originally it was 6 or 7 people when we opened, something like that, and we're at just under 70 now. Obviously, you know, structural changes have had to happen in that time, but the last few years perhaps we haven't adjusted the way we manage and govern the organisation in line with the growth in members. So that's something that we're addressing at the moment, and really looking at kind of delegating as much as we can, so that the smallest number of people possible are involved in the decisions that they need to be. That's not to say we don't want people to have a say on things, but only on the things they really need to, you know, that are really going to affect them.
And it's the principle of devolving power. So that those who are actually doing the job and who know what they're doing, so the veg team, the veg order, they can make those decisions based on understanding what our strategy is, you know, what our ethics are, rather than getting tied up in talking, because, you know, everything that has that effect, you know, impacts on the cost of the business, and, you know, you want to be able to pay living wages and have the produce affordable, and have your energy focused in the best way as well.
Yeah.
So it's learning to do that while being informed and inclusive and efficient, you know, and trust is a big thing with that. You know, building trust is so important.
It is. And also just looking kind of objectively at where decisions are made and who really needs to be involved in them, because, you know, we both find, you know, people can ask us for an opinion and we'll have a strong opinion on nearly everything, but that doesn't mean we're really going to be impacted if a smaller group of people make that decision and don't ask us. You know, that's fine, we trust them.
Yeah, I think we're fairly not unique, you know, every co-op's probably unique, but from the early days we've always kind of been quite good about devolving power and responsibility to teams and individuals, with the understanding of you know, our connection with the co-op comes through the work that we do, not talking about it so much in meetings with each other.
Oh, it's refreshing to see. I'm interested to know, because I imagine some of you have been here a lot longer than, say, some of the newer ones. Do you have anything considered, like, the certain elders in the company that might be, not say they have more influence, but, well, they might have some more of a bit more of an input because of the experience there?
Having a flat structure and having equal say is an aspiration. I mean, you can put all the kind of structures in place to try and make that the reality, but it is almost impossible to adjust for that kind of length of experience. I think that particularly, we're experimenting with ways of trying to sort of equalise participation in meetings, so that at the moment we're sort of trying out speaking in rounds, so going round in a small group. It only works in a small group, but you know, having discussions in quite a structured way so that everybody is called upon to contribute, and I think in many situations that really helps people step up who haven't found it so easy to contribute. But yeah, that voice of experience thing, you know, to a large extent, it's quite natural. You know, people who have had more experience in the business, they have that contribution to make, but
I think it's to not see it as a bad thing. I think that to the ideal of a flat structure is an ideal, but these things are theoretical. So there is none that exists unless it's forced, and which can be quite bad for the human spirit. So it's trying to get the best of everything. It's trying to encourage it to flatten, while embracing skills, personalities, the experience that someone might have, but also having a fluid structure, which means someone who comes with a lot of passion, experience and skill can take that on. Not everybody wants that. Some people want to work physically hard within a co-op, and that is their skill, and that can be a really important thing. You know, at that point in time, someone's just going to get on with their job, completely reliable, good eye for detail, and it's understanding that everyone's got this amount of time and it's valued equally, but there is a fluidity there, and not to either suppress skills and experience or not encourage others to thrive. And so that's a balance to always work towards.
But I think so obviously co-ops always have to operate democratically, and some interpret that it can be interpreted in lots of different ways. You know, in many co-ops decisions are made by voting, which is certainly, you know, way more democratic than a situation in a conventional business, but we actually make decisions by consensus. So essentially you can't really get outvoted. So if you do have a really strong opinion on something and you can, you know, express where that's coming from, you have the right to block decisions that you're really not happy with. So whether you're experienced or not, you know, the newest member has the right to, you know, have that power of you know, to make their voice heard, especially in key decisions that affect the whole co-op.
So, for instance, Kellie kindly took me out onto the little roof garden and seen your pond and the solar panels. So who would say, oh, you know what, I think a pond would be great? How does something like that get sort of actioned? Because it's not necessarily just the business owner saying, yes, let's do that.
So, you know, as I said, our principles are our foundations. So when we bought this building, that was a lot of money. So it was a while before we could start to do improvements. But it should be implicitly understood that whenever we do something, we try and do it in line with our principles. So if we are improving the building and this was a solution to insulation, you know, we should seek what's sustainable, what that encourage a better ecosystem. If there are options out there that we can afford and that logistically are possible, we should strive towards them. So it would be a group of people that are either a natural fit, say if we have a site team, or it might be people who have voted to be on a team who have got certain skills that are necessary, and hopefully they'll bring a proposal that is in line with our principles and with our practical needs.
And then the whole membership would be asked to make a decision on that. For a large sort of expenditure like that would come to the whole membership.
Although there have been times when we've had to make decisions quick, where there's been a decision where it's been agreed for a really large budget, and there's lots of smaller decisions that maybe would have usually come to members, but you've just got to sometimes act quickly in business and know when that's important.
Thing comes in, I think. And also the whole like Kellie was saying, you know, co-ops work well. I might even say they only work well when there is a shared understanding of what you're trying to achieve as a business. And for us, that is really our principles of purpose. You know, if you brought just any 70 people together who didn't have that shared understanding of the world and what the purpose of the business was, I think you would find it very, very difficult to move along in a sort of shared direction.
Be chaos.
And
that consensus decision making would just fall apart.
Because it would be down to personal preferences rather than held together by some social good or collective good. Co-ops pop up all around the world and have through history kind of coming together to provide solutions to problems that society is not helping with. You know,
and
so
that group of people have sort of collectively identified as something that they can contribute to.
Yeah, like you say, because you've got them core values and principles in place, it just naturally attracts them kind of people, and I assume quite a few of them would have shopped in here previously and then they would have got a feeling for it, and then...
Yeah, and workers can come for different reasons, because it could be that they're passionate about cooking, about organics, about a more sustainable world. So, but hopefully along the way, you know, start to see the bigger picture of how all these things are connected, how people, the environment, how things are commodified. It's very similar. And so if we can start to understand that, it's easier to work together rather than get bogged down in our individual passions.
Yeah. So how long have you been working for Unicorn?
I've been here, I've sort of lost count, but probably 14 years, maybe 15.
Wow.
And yeah, I've been here 20 years.
Wow, so close to the founders.
We're 2.5 when I started. Yeah,
wow.
So quite a long. Yeah, it's almost embarrassingly long.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's rare in this day and age for people to spend 15 and 20 years in companies. Like growing up, my mum and dad did. They would work in a company for 30 odd years. But I think because it's just testament to sort of the ethos and the environment, and because you've got autonomy and you can have an input in the direction of the company, then why would you want to leave?
Yeah, I came here for 6 months originally. That was the plan, and actually at that point I barely knew what a workers' co-op was. I was definitely attracted more by the sort of the trading model, like the way we focused on organic food and the sort of responsible sourcing and the fair trade and that kind of thing, and the worker ownership I barely comprehended what that was going to mean really, and but over the years that has become absolutely central to being here, and it's definitely why I'm still here.
I could imagine it'd be quite difficult to go into a different organisation now which didn't have that same structure.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine for me. Yeah.
Mm.
I've done other jobs on the side since I've been
Sounds
working
dodgy,
here. All above board. But they've generally been in organisations that were similarly minded. Yeah.
I think it's always good to think about that, because we can take so much for granted.
Yeah.
And then when you do think about the alternatives, I mean, I know even when I started working here and I was 30, then part of the reason was there were very few places that I wanted to work that were a good fit. You know, I knew I needed to feed my soul with the work that I did, and I'd had kind of, you know, interesting things that I'd done before, but I knew that some of them just didn't tick the right boxes. So you can kind of take that bit for granted and notice the things that we are still to improve on and get right, and because there's always work to be done.
Yeah.
But we are very lucky, and it would be difficult to find something that did tick all those boxes. You know, you did think there's always something interesting, new challenge, gorgeous people. You know, you've seen people's children grow up as well, the customers, and being part of a community hub is quite something.
Yeah. And I think there's something, I know we've talked about this over the years, like, you know, there's loads of elements to what we do, but at the end of the day, we're just providing people with good food, and there's something so, like, pure about that. It's just, you know, we know people need to eat. We're not trying to sell them crap that they don't need. You know, everybody needs to eat, and we allow them to eat well, you know, without spending a fortune. So, yeah, just to take a step back and know that the work we do is just kind of, I don't know, just simple, really, at the end of the day. We can make it a bit complicated sometimes, but...
We can. And we're very lucky to work in all the different areas. So, you know, we probably spend, me and you, about 50% shop floor up here in the offices. And, you know, I spend quite a bit of time working on veg, so you're lifting sacks of potatoes, and it's kind of, this is what it's about. This is the you know, the other work that we do up here is to enable the shop to run smoothly, and that's, you know, reminds us to keep it simple and focus
just,
on what's important.
For kind of personal well-being, having that real contrast is, I think, well, certainly for me, just really crucial. You know, you can use the different sort of parts of your brain and using your body as well, and
that seems crucial. It's like you've got, well, a number of roles within, you know, you're not just working in the checkout, you're not just working in veg, which you might get, you know, generally in the bigger supermarkets. That's probably what, you know, one of the reasons to staying for so long is because it becomes interesting. Every day is not the same. So I think it's crucial.
And it's definitely a place where not only is every day not the same, but your role can sort of change over the years that you're here. I mean, I think both of us have experienced that. You don't just have a go at anything you fancy, but, you know, over time your skills and interests do develop, and you sort of build up new, you know, you can get training. We have a decent sort of access to training budgets, and you can explore things that are of interest to you as well as being useful for the business. And yeah, I think that helps it helps people stay here longer, in our cases.
And it's crucial. It's crucial not to have a high turnover of staff, because you want people to be embedded into the culture and working. And then it just, like, you guys being here for so long, you're probably like 5 staff in one in a way, because of all that build up of what you can do. Whereas some companies, it'll be, you know, 6 months in and out, just constantly rolling. That's why people will be given a dedicated role, because it's maybe easy to train them up, because they know they're not going to be sticking around. So it's a great model. And I think as well, it's amazing that there's such a, you know, there is an ethical alternative for people to come to, particularly, you know, in this area, Manchester. And, you know, for be going for 23 years, it must have been really rare back then to be many even like this.
Oh yeah, and the people who set Unicorn up were told countless times that that's a daft idea, that's not going to work. And, you know, good for them. You know, they wanted to set up a shop where they wanted to go and buy things, and there wasn't one around, so they did it, and they had enough conviction to believe it would work.
Yeah, very much in the spirit of the Rochdale Pioneers. I mean, a very different situation, but that kind of people coming together to meet their own needs as well as the needs of their kind of wider community. But people did think they were a bit mad, I think.
Well, I mean, at the time, now green politics is in the mainstream all the time, isn't it? You know, then it was very much an offshoot, you know, an isolated thing, and fair trade was seen as something that was, you know, well intended but maybe didn't taste as nice, or, you know, organic was just food that our grandmas eat, but then it had been given this name and it was not really understood and was seen as a premium thing. So things have changed a lot. I think now consumers understand, you know, that organic is natural, that fair trade is just a food system, and the people who set Unicorn up had the foresight to be really clear about these things are important. We can set this up, and there will be, you know, enough demand in the future. People do care enough about this.
Yeah, and they were so right.
Yeah, and it's just basic food that people cook with.
Yeah,
so
you can't go wrong with that. And you know, there's such a movement now that's going. You know, people want a more ethical, organic. You know, it's really. It's getting much bigger. Obviously there's the other side of things as well. It seems to be getting worse, but to know that you've been in, you're shining light in a way for that and can inspire others along the way. I've noticed on your website that you almost are very, like you said before, very open with how you run the business, about the business plan, and just saying, like, here you go, we're willing to share how we do it. Feel free to take anything and everything of this.
Yeah, I mean, we would like truly love to see unicorns, you know, under a different name perhaps, but, you know, people operating with this kind of model in every city in the UK. There's so much of an appetite for what we do. People come from all over the northwest. When they move away, they come back and see their friends and bring the car so they can do a bulk shop.
Yeah, I mean, there is such an appetite for it, and people do come to kind of experience what it's like here. There are some barriers. Land is very expensive to get buildings. You know, we were lucky, we bought this building in 2004, but it was £1 million then. It was a lot of money, and we were just, you know, really, I don't know. At the time it seemed a bit mad, but it was like, yes, it's going to work. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of money. It'll be okay.
To be honest, yeah, if we hadn't bought it then, we'd have probably missed the boat. It would be very, very difficult to buy.
3 times that now.
Yeah. So there's that financial barrier for some, and also, like, setting up any business, you need people who are entrepreneurial, but with the social good as an aim rather than profit. So they need to put in all that early sweat equity, that, you know, which has its rewards when you see something, when you create something. And that's kind of that thing of finding a group of entrepreneurs who want to work together to create something they're not going to own in the future. They're going to caretake and pass on to others. But it will provide a social good, and it's not happened so much on this scale. So
we've had loads. We have visitors all the time, and the Grower Grocery Guide that you mentioned, that's the resource we have online with loads of information about our model, and, like you said, business plans and information on, you know, how we do our margins, how we structure the staffing, all that kind of thing. It's all that stuff has been downloaded and accessed thousands of times by people, well, all over the world actually, and we know that we've definitely played a sort of supporting role in helping other businesses get established. Many of which have gone on to do brilliant things, like all over the UK. There's some really nice examples, but that scale thing, nobody, I don't think, has done it on quite this scale where you can genuinely sort of offer an alternative to, you know, Morrison's or Tesco's or whatever, where people can come and do the bulk of their weekly shop, if not their entire weekly shop. That has yet to be replicated, I think.
And one thing I wanted to talk about is, like, the importance of buying local and the impact it has. And I think the more we can become aware of that and conscious of the impact it makes, like, but for every pound that you would spend, it might be around about 68p, 70p that goes back into local economy. Where if you shop at a high street, so, you know, it's way below 50% that goes back in. And that it just benefits the entire area, rather than if all the shops are just template shops everywhere, it's almost like sucking the wealth out of them areas and just sending it to wherever them head offices are, which may be London. So it's refreshing to see.
Yeah, I mean, tax-wise, we know that, there's an awful lot of tax is not paid by large companies, and so, you can often, there's a mark, fair tax mark, which is a really interesting thing to look out for, and that's companies that are paying, which is just what they should pay. They shouldn't need a certificate for it, but the fair tax, which helps keep money in the economy. But with a real local economy, I was hoping to get some of the growers to come to this, but it's really,
It's a
busy time for them. Then they do like the hardest work for the lowest wage. But we have like growers that are local suppliers as well, and to close that loop, it's lower carbon, it's more money in the local economy. There's lots of things to focus on, like organic, local, fair trade, and they've all got the benefits that they bring back to society.
I think one of the key things as well is not being a shareholder-owned company. The money that we make is either paid to staff who are local and are going to spend it in the local economy, or it's invested back in the business, or it's given away. And we give away quite a lot of money, both locally and internationally, to kind of projects and charities and campaign groups that are sort of, that we see as sort of trying to build the kind of world we're trying to build as well, and that's something we're really proud of, and it helps us keep our prices competitive as well, not having to make a vast amount of profit for shareholders, or for to pay kind of really high wages to executives and so on.
I understand from reading a little bit online that is it 5% of the wages that are given away into organisations?
Yeah, so
and
it doesn't
charities?
come out of our wages, but that's how we calculate it, which is quite an unusual way of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, so often if you have a fund that's associated with your profits, that can ebb and flow quite a lot, and it's easy to manipulate profits. So the idea of having it linked to wages was that it's linked to growth. So as we grow and we can afford to pay more wages, or we hire more people, that pot increases at the same pace.
So it means as we get better off as staff, we can't do that without equally, growing that fund at the same time, because wages come before. In a conventional company, the profit is what you've got left after you've paid your wages. So if you're paying people really high wages, you might make a very tiny profit, and therefore the amount you would give away is quite small. So it's something that our founders kind of established right at the beginning. In fact, it's in our principles of purpose, and I think the value of that decision that they made then has become really evident in recent years, where I can't remember what the proportion is if you did calculate it as a sort of percentage of our profits, but
I think it just means it's not seen as that's just how it is.
It's an embedded cost, isn't it?
There's lots of opportunity for discussion about, oh well, it's really tough here, or these things are happening. It's like, no, this is just how we trade. That's one of our basic principles.
Yeah. It's
we can't pull that
expense.
off. Yeah. So
and members are really proud of it, I think,
really proud of it, and learn a lot. If you have a look on the website where they've got where we have a few examples of the 1% and 4%. Some of the 4% case studies are really interesting projects that are happening, and every year when we check in with that fund and see what the proposals are for investments and contributions, we learn about what's happening in the world, which is good. We can get stuck in unicorn.
It's really amazing. You just feel like when you come in here, you're having that impact, and you're supporting them charities. I noticed as well, and it's something that I but I need to talk about it actually yesterday about the carbon offset and stuff, and I like the way your approach is rather than paying to offset your carbon, it's like, well, actually we think there's a better way to do it, and we think there needs to be more trees, so we're going to support this trust up in Scotland which I don't know how many hectares of land it was, but you're coming here to work, that you're planting trees as well and doing a lot of good.
Yeah, because every business has a carbon impact. You can't really, well, perhaps there is a way of making a business carbon neutral, but we've yet to find it if there is.
Yeah,
impossible, really, isn't it?
And it's really difficult because things become popular, terms like carbon neutral, and there's studies that show you can say that you're carbon neutral, but not all the trees that you plant grow, and it's like, let's say we're doing that because we know that we have an impact, and we're hopeful, but we're not pretending that we are perfect, and it's just an acknowledgement of the way we trade has its flaws, has an impact, and a way to mitigate that.
So you touched on local growers and stuff. I understand that you've got, is it 21 acres of land which you were using to grow your own food and stuff, and it's not that far away from here?
That's true. We bought it in 2008. It's in Glazebury, so it's kind of Lee Wigan way, and there was a growers cooperative that were farming on the land, but it's been mothballed for a few years now. They had a flooding problem with United Utilities, which really impacted on how they were growing, and they were also, both growers in this cooperative had small children, long hours, and field scale crops, which if you're not familiar with crops, they're harder to make a margin on, labour intensive, and really you want a bigger scale to be able to farm. That's like brassicas and things. So it's been mothballed, trees planted, hedges, so it's lovely for the ecosystem at the moment, and regularly looked after by those growers still. But we're also looking to get planning permission for protected growing and accommodation on site. The idea being that we could create an infrastructure for growing plants that could they can get a better margin for the grower, so the tenant farmer can have more reliable income. Protected growing is like an insurance policy against the weather fluctuations.
When we say protected growing, we mean like polytunnels, so that you can.
I know, I assume everybody knows it, but it's like
It's
it's got a force field around it. It's
Yeah.
protected from everything. And also crop substitution for things that we currently get from Europe. It's a way to extend the season. So we don't know if we'll get planning permission, and then if we do, we've still got the logistics of, can we get a tenant who wants to live there, etc. But this is the plan to, we think in the future there's going to be greater demand for a more local supply of organic produce that has a lower carbon input, and hopefully that land will be used for that end. Yeah, and we'll have it kind of ready when the time's right.
And then talking about doing things that improve the environment, one thing I've always liked about when I came here for the fruit and veg, none of it is wrapped in plastic. It's literally, I don't even have to put it in a paper bag if I don't want. The best that goes in a paper bag is maybe the little cherry tomatoes, but everything else can just be piled in to the basket, and then it goes into my bags. So just having that choice, it will still, we can't get here sometimes all the time, so we'll still go to other places, but the amount of plastic that comes off everything, your cucumbers, your bananas, everything is wrapped in it. I know there's a big movement at the moment, like people are sort of rebelling against it, and they're doing sort of group ripping off the plastics and just leaving it in the store to make a thing. So
my friend's doing quite a bit of that.
Yeah, it's something that we've done from the beginning. I mean, it just seemed like it was clear that plastic was being used very unnecessarily, and I think there was just no reason not to, really. And it's such a USP, because quite apart from anything else, just coming in and being hit in, with your, people say the first taste is with the eyes. You walk in and you're just met with this sea of beautiful fresh produce that is just there for the touching and the smelling and and you can pick the amount that you want. You can just give it a squeeze, see if it's right. You can smell it, you can touch it, and yeah, finally there is this movement, and retailers are starting to respond to this sort of 20 years later, and hopefully, you know, one day this will be the norm, but it is still quite unusual at the moment.
It is. It's given us a push as well to look at the rest of our range, the commodities that we sell. I mean, originally, you know, we looked at bins and but it just wasn't going to work, selling the things on the scale that we wanted to compete with supermarkets. You know, people want to grab and go and all this kind of, you know, but now the landscape's changed and consumers are ready for different alternatives. So, you know, we're seeing a shift for us that way. You know, we're trialling some different things, and you know, you can see the future's going to be even better for those options in Unicorn.
I think we're definitely going. What we're trying to do is not replace one problematic kind of packaging with another, because although paper has a, you know, a much less problematic sort of impact at the end of its life, it can get recycled. Its production is actually very. It produces 4 times the carbon emissions of plastic. So it's not, you know, in itself, it's not a sort of. There is no such thing as a good throwaway packaging. So that one of the other things that we're sort of trying to communicate to customers at the moment is, don't swap one for the other. Just don't use anything, you know, like you do. Just pile it in your basket. We don't mind handling it loose at the till, and yet, like Kelly says, looking at places around the shop where we can just cut out that need for throwaway packaging altogether, rather than just, you know, finding something new to replace plastic with, which we'll probably discover in a few years has its, you know, because there's lots of issues with this sort of biodegradable and plant-based stuff that's coming on now. Not to say that they're not an improvement, but
who knows, we'll find out in the future, because sometimes you think something is a good thing and it turns out it's not. A better thing is not to have that product. And people are really getting used to bringing in the Tupperware dishes and bringing them to the deli and getting the salads and curries and things put straight into them, and I think it's
been amazing actually. We said I think it was in about August last year we started charging for the plastic pots that we use on the deli counter, and we were already on a reuse rate of about 20%, and I just sort of picked this 40. We said we want to get to 40% by the end of the year.
We thought it was ambitious.
We thought, I don't quite know where that figure came from. It just felt like, right, let's double it. Let's make that our target. Who knows? And we hit 40% by the end of the year. So 40% of our olive, salad, kind of, you know, anything that you put in a pot at the deli is now going into a container that somebody's brought with them, and that's success, I think. And
pretty good.
Yeah.
Not everybody plans their trip out.
No, but people are just they're ready for it, like you say. They really they don't want to be responsible for, you know, mountains of plastic waste either. So. And
I've spotted some of the refill counters now. Are they relatively new, trialling them?
Yeah, and we're hopefully rolling them out with our seed section soon. For us, some of it is how the logistics work with, like, shopping in the fruit and veg area. You'll know that you need a bit more space because you have to park your trolley up and then go and fill up your bags. And so we've had a trial in one area of the shop. It's working. I mean, people love the idea of it, but we've only had a limited line, so we can't really see how popular the use will be. So we're going to start to roll it out and then see what challenges it brings, and then, you know, how we can meet them.
I think the point you made earlier about whether people, because obviously we are aiming to compete with the supermarkets and be a place that can come, you know, people can come in and do a big shop, and we've had this uncertainty about whether people, you know, whether those extra few seconds that you would have to spend filling a dispenser, you know, using a dispenser to buy stuff would make the difference between someone just not buying it. So that's all, because, you know, at the end of the day we're a business and we do need to sell stuff to, you know, all the decisions we make are a mixture of kind of ethical and commercial, you know, factors being weighed up.
You're no example to anybody if you're not trading.
Exactly.
Can't pay the growers, and
Yeah, so we don't kind of race into these decisions just sort of feeling like this emotional impulse to do the right thing. We want to make sure that it is the right thing and that it's going to contribute to a business model that is
sustainable.
It's
overused
financially
word, isn't it?
sustainable. yeah, as well as everything else.
Yeah, it feels like you're going about it the right way, trial and error in small areas of the shop. But the great thing is, in terms of the reusables at the deli, that's amazing, from 20 to 40%, and you could probably get, the next few years, it'd be more than half of people will be doing that.
We hope so, yeah.
One thing that I've always admired as well about the store is that, this may not be true, but it's what I understand it was, that there's no refined sugar in any products.
No. It depends how you define refined sugar, and this is something
coconut palm sugar, I know that's not refined sugar, but
I think we might have one product with coconut sugar in it actually. But so what we don't have is cane sugar, which is what a lot of people have kind of come to understand by the word refined sugar. So we don't have like granulated sugar.
But there are some things, we have things that you would think were sweet. We have like some waffles, and they've got corn syrup in them, and that's the difficult thing, that if people think that we're sugar free, then they're inadvertently thinking that these things have not got sugars, but this thing's got fruit sugars in. And is the percentage, if people are aware and want to cut down on that sugar, that they should look at? Because most of the things we sell are ingredients, they're just natural. It's not an issue. But there are some things that have got not cane sugar, but other sugars which the body treats in the same way. So,
because any kind of syrup is refined. It hasn't just appeared in that way naturally, and is concentrated and so on. So, it's a constant sort of battle for us to find the right place to draw the line and not mislead customers with that, because basically if something tastes really sweet, it's got a lot of sugar in it, some kind of sugar. And yes, that sugar might also have a bit of nutritional value, like maple syrup has a bit of minerals and so on in it that cane sugar doesn't. But for example, if you're diabetic, you shouldn't be eating maple syrup any more than you should be eating cane sugar. So yeah, it's an interesting area.
Well, it's great that there's no cane sugar, because pretty much if you go in to normal supermarkets and you pick up, any packet, pretty much sugar is in pretty much everything.
I think that's the key thing, and that is something that we have been pretty good on, I think, is those hidden sugars that are in things like sauces and pasta sauces and so on, that people just don't realise. They don't even taste sweet because it's just part of a blend. So yeah, I think we generally, sugar isn't generally in things that you wouldn't expect it to be in. I can say that much.
Okay, got it. So, obviously, it sounds like from the outside it's an amazing model, and you've got loads of autonomy and loads of direction. You can really influence the business. But I'd imagine there must be still, some really challenging times, being a part of it. What sort of challenges are you facing right now, or is there any that you've had to overcome which have been really tricky?
Space is, there's been lots of challenges on different levels. Physically, space is a challenge at the moment, and access. There's a lot of development around this area. There's, property prices are quite bonkers around here. And so the traffic just coming directly towards Unicorn. A lot of it is coming into Unicorn, but there's also flats that have been... This wasn't really a residential area when we were trading early days. So we have been seeking to, look at how we can improve on that and separate our commercial access, because we get lorries delivering things by the pallet here, and that's really important to our business model. It means buyer direct, straight to the site, pass on savings to customers. And negotiating for that space has been a very long, drawn-out process and has uncertainty, which ripples through the co-op. So that's something that is a physical challenge. And
space in within the building itself as well. we're probably sort of over trading really on the site that we've got. You know, you want high sales, but then when you get to a certain point, trying to pack that number of people into the shop, trying to pack that amount of stuff into the warehouse can become almost less efficient if you're trying to do too much in a space that isn't quite big enough.
Definitely, this old scale of economies. Yeah.
So you come into sort of the maximum amount of staff that you can have. Is it getting close?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would both say so.
I think on different levels, and like structurally to how we make decisions. I mean, at this point in time, because you know you can find different ways to communicate and devolve power, etc. But it seems to be at the moment, and also I think it's a good thing, because there's also always savings you can make. We talk about needing space, but we could create space as well. You know, we can streamline things, we can simplify things. They're not always the easiest way to go. You know, earlier on it's always easier to think, oh well, we could have that bit, you know, we bought the building so we doubled in size, you know, but there are savings that we can make that mean that we can work with what we've got, and that's a challenge that we're kind of looking at.
Yeah, and that includes staff as well. You know, we could choose to not reduce the number of staff, but to streamline what we do here so that we don't need to keep growing the membership of the co-op, because my feeling is definitely that many more than this, and we'd be struggling to kind of remain collective and with this sort of shared vision, and you know, knowing each other. It's already, you know, it's a big group of people to kind of stay in contact with on a personal level. So yeah, I think we're about there. Just
on that's a really interesting point. You must develop some really good friendships working here, like, you know, real amazing, you know, because community and connection is so important to our health and our well-being, and to be around that, you know, all the time. Oh yes, it's challenges as well, but generally you must have met some great people.
You do, and you see it especially when you get a group of people who recruited around the same time, and you see, you know, when they stay here for years, you see this close bond that they get. It's almost like when you start school with a small group of people. And I think there's times when our structure has been deeply challenged, as when you kind of see the flip side of that, and you can see the impact on people's mental health. And we want to be, you know, I can't use this word now, like a joyous place. You know, you want to bring more joy into, you know, want to run a business efficiently, you know, based on our principles, and improve people's well-being and not undermine it. And so, you know, that's something to be conscious of, you know, and it's a good reason to question growth for
growth's sake.
Yeah, to what end?
Yeah, it's a really, it can be very kind of all-encompassing, this place, and that's in good ways and bad. You know, we're so, it's really important to us, and it does provide for many of us the sort of framework for our social life as well as our working life, and it's us kind of living our values as well. So it's somewhere that you give a lot of yourself to, but you get an incredible amount back. And yeah, I think that's another thing that we can take for granted a bit, sort of feeling like we're part of something that matters, and that we're working with people that feel the same. And yeah, the kind of connection that comes through that, which can be very intense, you know, in challenging ways as well, but it's an incredible position to be in. And I'm not, you know, it's definitely not only co-ops where you get that, but I think they do foster something pretty special in terms of connection.
Yeah, definitely. So outside of work, what do you guys do to switch off? You know, does it get a bit much? You've been here for so long, you know, embedded into the company. You have quite a bit of influence here. Like you said, it can be probably, you'll be always thinking about it some ways, because there's always something to be doing. But I'm interested, you know, what do you do to switch off? Any little rituals or daily routines that you might have?
I almost don't want to say what I do. I do a hell of a lot of yoga, but it's too much of a stereotype. I do a lot of yoga, meditation, but that's because I would do that wherever I was. It's a beautiful thing.
You don't have to do yoga to work at Unicorn.
You don't have to, and most people, I shouldn't really link the two together.
Oh no, it's a wonderful thing.
It's
And I play a lot of ping pong, which is
Amazing.
perhaps less of a stereotype. And I go walking a lot as well.
There's quite a crew of people doing a lot of walking.
Yeah,
There's a lot of nature lovers,
but
as you would
also
expect.
there's a ping pong crew as well. Our numbers are growing.
Oh, there's a yoga crew.
And there's a yoga crew, yeah. All right, it's not a competition.
That's amazing. You touched on meditation. Do you do any sort of particular form of meditation?
No, I just do it as a part of the whole practice.
The
yeah.
yoga. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Just interested to know. So, who do you admire that you feel are doing good in the world, and I could potentially have on my podcast?
So do you mean in the area?
Anyone. I travel a bit doing it as well. Well, in this country at the moment.
Okay.
Just anyone that you might admire.
I mean, our growers are a big one for me.
They are, definitely.
Not the right time of year, Gleeblands.
Yeah. They're always so busy though, so I almost feel like recommending them to do an interview is kind of probably not actually doing them any favours.
Yeah, giving them more work to do.
Some of our 1% recipients, that's the fund that we support UK projects from. There's some really lovely projects in Manchester doing therapeutic gardening with asylum seekers and refugees. So one is called Growing Together in Levenshulme. There's another one that's run by a faith-based organisation in Beswick called Revive. They're both, well, yeah, you definitely couldn't argue that they're doing good. They're doing amazing things with people that have come from unimaginably sort of difficult situations and had, awful times getting here as well. So
That's good to know. Yeah, they do sound inspiring.
And there's cracking good food as well that was set up by someone who was a member at Unicorn years ago. And they do some really interesting work with different social groups. So cooking from ingredients, and they also do workshops that kind of help support that work that kind of some people pay for, but some are funded. And
they call it a community cookery network, and it's that is a really lovely organisation actually.
Yeah, and she's really passionate about what she does. She would be good to talk to.
And that's another great thing for people that will come here to work, however long, that experience and knowledge of being involved in all areas of the business is invaluable. That when you do step outside, I'd imagine a significant amount of people would want to maybe set up their own thing because...
people have gone on to do really interesting things. I think it sets the bar pretty high for kind of what you want to do with your working life, definitely.
Okay, last couple of questions. So this podcast is all about sharing what good people are doing, like yourselves and Unicorn. What advice would you give someone who's looking to go out into the world and do their own bit of good?
Find out how you can use your skills, I guess. Try and identify what they are, rather than just sort of thinking, I've got to work for a charity because that's how I would really encourage people to look at the cooperative model though as well, because almost any skill can be useful in a co-op. So if people aren't sort of familiar with how co-ops work, we're not charities, we're not we're enterprises, we're businesses, but there's a lot of capacity to do good through collective working.
Sounds good.
I think I'd just say find something that you love. If you want to do something that is for the collective good, for the social good, or working in the environment, make sure you've got a passion for it and you enjoy it, and then you'll get more out of it and you'll give more as well.
Perfect. Okay, to wrap up, so what's the best way that people can kind of connect with Unicorn? Is it social media, website?
Come here.
Come in the
Come
shop.
in, of course. Of course they want to come
There's
in.
nothing that replicates being here, I think. The smell, the feast for the eyes. But if you can't come in, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're sort of on Twitter, although we're not very good at it.
We do some stuff like that, just enough to, what we think we're expected to do. But we really focus in the shop.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'll make sure that I add all the links and stuff. So, well, that's it. Thank you very much for your time today. I've really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Good. So there you go. There's today's episode wrapped up with Kellie and Debbie from Unicorn Grocery. And if you're in the area, if you're in Manchester, I really recommend you going there. And they really are inspiring plenty of other people to go out there and set up their own cooperatives and to show them how they can do it, that we can all do it. We can all buy more local. We can be more ethical, more sustainable. It's possible, and for that, they're definitely doing good. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. And if you listen to this on Apple Podcasts, I'd really appreciate it if you left me a review. Anyway, until next time, have a good one.